Yeah, that's good to know. And that actually plays a little bit into something that I wanted to share today. And it's the 4 tips that I have for buyers today that are dealing with this, that are right here alongside us in this market. And you actually touched on one of them, but I'll repeat it again. The first one is
Hey y'all, Katie here with Team Evoazy, and welcome to the Arizona Monthly Market Housing Update with Matt and Katie, where you learn all about the greater Phoenix area housing market, including information on interest rates, what's happening with housing prices, and tips and tricks for buyers and sellers. Please like, subscribe, and download our episode so that we can continue to get this real news out to the real people.
Hey everyone, it's Katie and
Matt.
We are that real estate married couple. Talking a little bit about real estate. No, a lot about real estate and a little bit about life. I always mess that up.
Maybe it is a lot about life, a little about real estate.
Maybe it is. We are based in the Phoenix, Arizona area, and this is our monthly housing market update. Very, very local. We are here with our favorite lender, Ryan Gilliam from Waterstone Mortgage.
Welcome, Ryan.
Welcome, Ryan. I wish I
Hello,
had the applause
everyone.
button.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here with us as always.
Yes.
You're amazing, and we appreciate all of your hard, wonderful work with our clients. So thank you for that too.
Thank you. I always look forward to these chats.
Yes.
Absolutely. I missed you last time, so it feels like it's just been a long time.
Oh, that's
So,
right.
yeah.
Matt wasn't
We
here.
missed
Well,
you
welcome
too.
back.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's dive right into it, Ryan. Give us a little rate update.
Yeah. So an update on rates. So what happened this month is, the inflation figures came out and they came in a little bit higher than what we were hoping. It's called the Consumer Price Index, which really takes in all of the inflation in America. And it came in at 0.4%, which was double what was expected. So as we had kind of discussed in past podcasts, just to kind of keep it simple, high inflation equals high mortgage rates. So that's why we're seeing such highs right now. So that was bad, getting those figures to show that inflation still is going up. So we did see rates hit pretty much the highest levels that we've seen since 2001, where we're averaging about a 7%. So that's the bad news. But the good news is, on the bright side of things, we do feel the numbers in November. What a lot of experts are predicting, that inflation numbers will finally start dropping in November. So, the Federal Reserve has been hiking rates a lot this year to do that, to drop inflation. So we finally feel like that's going to, start showing a drop. And when that happens, that could trigger mortgage rates to start going down as well. And we're already kind of starting to see that this week. They've gone down about 1/8 so far in the past 3 days. So that's positive. We're seeing some positive movement in mortgage rates. And on top of that, Congress is really pressuring the Fed to stop their rate hikes. They do feel maybe by December will be the end of it. And that's kind of a positive for mortgage rates as well. So, though we're kind of at difficult times right now with the rates, we do see some hope on the horizon. So that's good news.
Yeah, absolutely. And how is it affecting your mortgage applications? You a little down, or how are you guys doing?
Yeah, they have definitely been down. We're still talking to the same amount of people right now, but I think a lot of people are just kind of nervous to pull the trigger on anything. They're just kind of on the fence. There's a lot of fear.
Okay.
There's a lot of negative news out there, and we're just out there kind of educating people. It is a great time to buy. We're telling them about seller concessions and lower prices. And I know what you talked about in the last podcast, that 2-1 buy down program has been very popular, because we are seeing sellers paying closing costs. If you could at least get 2 1/4 of the purchase price in seller pay concessions, which we're seeing almost 3% average right now. So that's not really asking too much in this market. You could get a mortgage rate 2% less than the current market the first year. So that saves you $500 a month on a $400,000 purchase price. A lot of people are taking advantage of that because we know rates will be down in a year or two. And you have an opportunity to refinance at any time with that program too. So, a lot of people are taking advantage of that too. So there's some good programs out there to help out with these high rates.
Yeah, that's good to know. And that actually plays a little bit into something that I wanted to share today. And it's the 4 tips that I have for buyers today that are dealing with this, that are right here alongside us in this market. And you actually touched on one of them, but I'll repeat it again. The first one is get concessions, especially for a rate buy down, like you said. And I'm seeing it all over town. Sellers that are for sale right now, I mean, they really need to sell at this point. These are not the guys that are like, well, we'll just slap it up, see what happens. No, these are not those guys. So they're needing to sell, whether that be moving for a job, moving out of state, or maybe they already purchased another home or whatever's going on in their lives, right? So they are motivated at this point. Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive to borrow money right now. So why not make it a win-win? Get them a sale for these sellers that need to get going. Get some concessions for the buyer and buy that rate down a little bit so it's a little bit less expensive for them.
And not to just I gotta say something here. You guys just been taking up the whole first portion of this, giving you a hard time. Anyways, no. What's great about concessions too is I think a lot of people are, like you said, they're on the fence. They're a little bit nervous. So that's just going to allow them to have a little bit more cash in their pockets for that what if, to kind of give them that confidence and let them know that this decision might be right instead of just giving it all up for this, rate buy down. So
yeah, totally. Number two, again, something that Ryan just touched on, check out the different loan programs out there, like the 2-1 buy down or the Wealth Builder. Ryan, I know you are awesome. Whenever you talk to my clients, you are awesome at going through all of the programs that they're eligible for and kind of helping them pencil out and figure out what would be the best route for them to go. So I thank you for that. And I know my clients do too. But that's important. I think a lot of people don't know what's available to them right now.
it's true.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, the 2-1 buy down, like we discussed just right now. We also have, 5-year ARMs. So, I know we discussed that in past podcasts where, the rate would adjust after the first 5 years, but the 5-year rate is so much lower than the 30-year right now. So it's a good program to get into. And then, of course, anticipate rates dropping and refinance later. So, we are talking to a lot of people who understand that this is a good time to buy, that things have shifted. And, there's creative ways to lower your payment while getting into a home.
Yeah, totally. Third thing, things have changed. So we're not waiving, appraisal contingencies. We're not waiving inspections. We're not cutting down our inspection days. We're certainly not advising our buyers to do that anyway. And we're advising our buyers to press the seller for repairs during the inspection period. Let's just do it, guys. Like if it needs, we've got one going on right now that we were going to take it in as is condition, right? The buyer was cool with that. But we found out that the roof's completely shot and needs a $14,000 roof. Guess what the seller is doing? They're replacing the roof. So even though we were like, hey, in the beginning, cool, we'll move forward. We're not going to ask for little stuff was what the agreement was. But something pretty major, pretty devastating came across. And now the seller is remedying that. So definitely push the sellers. As buyers, you can't, the sellers can't cancel. All they can say is no.
Exactly. And, and before COVID hit and in our standard, real estate markets, we've always kind of looked at like there's almost 2 stages of negotiations.
Right.
It was like that stage of negotiation and getting into contract, meeting of the minds, and then that second stage of negotiations for when we actually discover what we're buying as a buyer. Yeah. Now, exactly what you're saying, we've returned to that. So it's now we know that, hey, we do have this second leg. Now, this is great information for the buyers, but this is also very important for sellers to consider too, that, they're not in yesterday's market where they can kind of close their eyes and hold their breath and everything's going to work out during inspection. It's super important that they're prepared and they understand what they're looking at and what potentially could come up. So they're not put between a rock and a hard place and hit with this big news, and then they have to make rash decisions. So I think it's super important for sellers to kind of hear this is where we're going to, and there's a way to prepare for it.
Absolutely. And the fourth thing is negotiate. Buyers negotiate up front. Like we just said, negotiate in the inspection period, negotiate in the appraisal contingency period. Like anytime that you can negotiate. You need to have somebody strong on your side though, like your brother's mother's father's dog that just got their license last month is probably hasn't been through enough of market changes and enough of these transactions to be a strong negotiator on your side. So number one thing, I think it should have been number one. I don't know why I put it as number 4, but negotiate and make sure you have somebody strong on your side.
Save the best for last.
Oh, there we go.
There
we go.
Just say call Katie and Matt. That's it. That's number 4.
It's totally true. And this is the time to negotiate. We're not, we're in this market now that they've officially said that Arizona is a buyer's market, but we're really close.
We're really close.
So it's this middle ground where it's not just, sellers, you got to just give it all up, or same with buyers when it was a seller's market. So it's one of those things that having experience, having someone that can really latch on to the specifics and the biggest thing is understand the realtor on the other side, because that's where the negotiations are ultimately being filtered through. So if you have an inexperienced realtor on the seller side and an experienced realtor on the buyer side, you're in the driver's seat. That's good. And I think a lot of people in our industry are not prepared for this. So there's a lot of inexperience really shining out there right now.
Yeah.
You know, in order to have success in the market previously, it was, you know, you
A little
got to just
easier.
show
It's a
up,
little
you know what I
easier.
mean? Because the
Yeah.
market was kind of directing itself. Whereas now expertise pays. You get what you
Yes.
pay for.
Exactly. And the ones that don't have it, they're losing, guys. And that is a sad, sad place to be, especially in you know, moments of somewhat uncertainty.
Yeah.
So armless reports came out last week. And of course, they're a month behind because October hasn't finished yet. So we can't report October numbers, right? So based on between August to September, inventory levels haven't really changed all that much.
That's cool.
It is cool, and it's just really interesting. I watch them on a daily basis, and they've even kind of dipped a little bit in the last, week or so.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff happening on that front. And because the market's so strange, it's one of those positions where, we don't have a crystal ball. We got to look at exactly what the data we're seeing, what we're feeling with our buyers, our sellers, our landlords, our tenants. And we're seeing that. And I think the reason the inventory is really not sparking is because everyone that had to sell, anyone that's on the market right now, they are in a position of need to sell. Okay. Whether it's divorce, whether it's death in the family, transfer of jobs, something's forcing them to do this. Now, a lot of the people that put their homes on the market, we saw this, increase big time over the last 60 to 90 days. Most of them were actually in a position to take it off and put it on as a rental.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have done that. And we've seen that kind of now trickle over to the rental side, where in the last 30 days, we've seen our rental numbers all of a sudden get a burst.
Yeah.
A burst of inventory from these people that said, we've been on the market for 60 days. We're not giving it away. We're in a position that we can rent it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We also have this, we'll say the byproduct of a heavily investor targeted market where everyone was jumping in saying, hey, let's do this VRBO thing. That was the hot button here throughout COVID. Not only local people, but people that were saying, hey, you know what? We're planning on retiring in Arizona here in the next, let's say 5 to 10 years. I think it's great that we go get a VRBO and it's just going to pay for itself. And this is a great retirement tool. Well, that market has just literally slowed down. Everyone's stopping planning vacations. There's a lot of people when recession's being said and all these words that bring fear, people are just slamming the brakes on. So now you have all these people that were short-term rentals saying, oh shit, we can't do this. We need to go to long-term rentals. So we have those jumping on the, my point to this is the way I'm seeing this is like, we're kind of purging all these people that kind of made these emotional decisions and such. And we need to go through this. And I think it's this small group and we're going to trudge through it. And then we're going to be positioned great here in Arizona. I think it's just my feeling for like what Ryan was saying, good news from the Fed on inflation, rates dropping. I think it's all there. Question for you, Ryan. And this goes back to what you're talking about. Your volume of inquiries and people that are sitting on the fence. Would you say that there's a lot, like there just seems to be the same amount of people that are like, hey, we're real interested, but we're waiting, but we're ready?
There is, yeah. So we see, we kind of track all of our numbers and, we track everybody who we're talking to, and that really hasn't dropped. The people who are moving forward with taking applications and doing a credit pull who really want to start looking, that has dropped. And it really just kind of goes to show that, they're waiting, they're on the fence. And I think there is going to be that tipping point, when the media starts, announcing that, hey, rates are dropping, things are improving, they'll get off the fence. So, we might see a burst of demand, once that starts happening. So,
and when we're this close to being a buyer seller's market and that demand pops and our inventory is kind of weird. It's all like distressed properties. There's not a lot of turnkey stuff. Investors will also pick up on this and they're going to start jumping in. And I think we could quickly see us go right back to a seller's market. So buyers, think about this. That's all I'm saying.
And distress, not in terms of foreclosures or short sales, distressed in terms of this needs work. This needs like a full remodel. Or like I said, the one that we have right now that needs totally a new roof. Like stuff like that. So that's what we're seeing on the market. Another thing that I think is contributing to sort of our weird inventory levels is that many sellers are staying due to the amount of appreciation that they've gained in their home and the low rate that they have. So they've got like this low mortgage, which all their friends are super jealous about, right? And they have a ton of equity in their home. So they're just kind of like waiting it out.
Yeah. And you're doing the right thing. Honestly, I think it's a wise thing to do with that rate. The rate is so important.
Yeah. And the equity, like you said, I think they did a study where they said 40 to 50% equity is the average of Americans right now with the appreciation that we saw over the past 2 years, which is incredible.
Yeah, which goes into my next 3 reasons why it's not like 2008. All right. So one of those is, and I'll just pop right into that. I do have a slide for you all.
Yeah.
What is a market update without a Katie slide? Can we see that?
Absolutely.
So it's actually number 3 on my list, but I think since you touched on it, Ryan, I'm going to start with it. But foreclosure volume is super low. So we're talking starts. People who kind of go into that foreclosure process, but don't end up, like the bank doesn't end up taking over, right? So they end up doing something else, either, reinstating, or they end up selling, because the total average, I found a number value from it, from Keeping Current Matters. The total average is about 300,000 that people have for equity in their home. So I mean, that's pretty far from foreclosure. If you say, if you look at it from an educated standpoint and say, hey, I've got X amount of equity, I can drop this low enough so that way it sells in a flash, which buyers are still buying, guys. It hasn't stopped. And then they don't move into that foreclosure process. So if you look at this graph, those of you who are listening to the audio version, the foreclosure starts back in 2008. We're nearing like 600,000. And now, I mean, even with, a little bit of an uptick in 2022, we're under 100,000.
Yeah. They're two totally different things. You have a 2005 to 2007 market exploded on BS mortgage qualifications.
Right.
Rates weren't low. It was just negative amortization loans. You could get qualified with no income. You could hire your own appraiser. There was just no checks and balances. So that was super artificial, right? Every ingredient to crash. What we've just seen is the opposite. Heavy qualifications, heavy cash down, home now representing something totally different than just home. It's shelter. Something, and then ultimately the lowest rates possible, that we've seen. So that all points to just healthy.
Right. And that's my number 2 is
sorry.
It's okay. I think you're cheating. I think you're looking at my notes.
Are we looking ahead? We keep stealing Katie's
You know what they say? Cheaters never prosper, but they sure do win a lot. Okay.
But my number 2 is mortgage standards are higher. So, I mean, you remember that time, Ryan, you could fog a mirror, you could buy 5 houses. Super cool. Just tell me how much you make. I believe you. You know what I mean? And that's
Ninja
how
loans.
it was.
If anyone doesn't know, there was ninja loans, which means no income, no job, basically. So
insane. And then when people had to walk away from this, of course they would, because they knew that they were locked into this neg am loan that they've already lost 20% on. So it's no brainer. Now for someone to walk away or put the mortgage last when they've got $100,000 worth of equity, no, I think they're going to switch to ramens and hot dogs before they stop paying the mortgage,
Exactly. And my third one is something that we have talked about already, and it's that the supply of homes is nothing like it was in 2008. So if you're able to see the graph, you can see how drastic it is. But if you are, again, just listening to the audio here, in 2008, we were at 10.4 is our high for average month supply. And right now, again, guys, this is across the country. This isn't just Phoenix, okay? We're a little bit higher than what this is reporting in Phoenix, but really not a ton. 3.2 months right now.
Wow. Absolutely. And something that I notice when I look at this graph is look at how much, look how much our inventory went up from when, people started realizing, wow, it's, things are happening, from 2006 to 2007, right? But then go ahead and look at when they realized we're coming out of this thing and where it dropped from 2011 to 2012. That's the same type of activity I do think we're going to see when people feel that, okay, we do still have a supply demand issue when rates start to fall.
Yep. Yep, you can see it here in the graph, folks.
And there was a
I'm
quote I know
optimistic
that
when I look
I
at
talked to
graphs.
you guys about here. Lawrence Yun, who's the NRA chief economist, National Association of Realtors, who's really got a pulse, of course, on the market. What he was saying, despite weaker sales, multiple offers are still occurring, with more than a quarter of homes selling above list price due to limited inventory. And he adds here, the current lack of supply underscores the vast contrast with the previous major market downturn from 2008 and 2010, when inventories were 4 times higher than they were today. So he's really positive about the market as well. And, there's so much negative headlines, but, if you listen to the experts like the NRA chief economist, it's a much different story.
Yeah. Well, hey, bad news is more fun. I say it's like
it gets more
attractive.
attention.
Gets clicks,
It does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's all I have for today, guys. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't know.
We covered a lot. It's good to have you back, Mac.
Hey,
Mac. You did great.
I was sad to miss, but I got to keep you guys on your toes, Okay.
All right, everybody out there, if you are looking for some expert advice and some expert negotiators, you can find us at evoaz.com. That is E like elephant, V like Valentine, O like orange, AZ like Arizona.com. Just throw us a quick message there and we'll be happy to advise at whatever situation you are in. And then hop on over to our YouTube channel. I'm so proud of our YouTube channel because it's all like organized and all our playlists are right there. So you can get anything you ever wanted to know about Phoenix real estate over on our YouTube channel. There are 980 videos on that channel, guys. At Team Evo AZ is our handle, and you can actually, this is the first playlist, the monthly market update. So if you want to subscribe, that way you're notified every time we drop a new episode. That would be great, and we will even say hello to you if you do that. If you're the audio version type, maybe you drive a lot in your car, you like to listen to this while you work out. If you are on any of your favorite podcast platforms, just give us a quick search. We are AZ Real Estate Radio.
Hope you guys are writing this down.
Arizona Real Estate Radio. Just do a search. And again, like, follow, subscribe, download so that we can get the real news out to the real people.
Ryan, thank you so much for being here. Waterstone
Thank
Mortgage.
you. Always so much fun.
Getting
Appreciate
qualified,
it.
Definitely reach out. Guy's the man. We appreciate you, Ryan. Thank you so much.
He's trying to have a radio voice like me. It's okay.
Yes.
I'll teach you.
She teaches me everything, ladies and gentlemen.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.